Mr. Fu, just wait a second. Okay, the next speaker, we would like to introduce Mr. Fu. He's a business development director from SkyX Solar. And Mr. Fu has spent over 10 years in business development in the United States and Vietnam, realizing the potential of renewability and his inner passion for social responsibility. Vu has built up startup company, has commercialized a patent, Vietnamese waste-to-energy technology. After that, at the boom of solar industry in 2019 and 2022, Vu was responsible for more than 100 megawatt solar rooftop projects. In addition, he has provided consultants for the development of several utility-scale projects with a total of 5+ gigawatt capacity. He's going to talk about solar rooftop developers. Where are we needed next? I'm going to leave my floor to you, Mr. Fu. You can share a screen now and start our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I see an interesting question from Milan.
Oh, really? The old friend.
Okay. You can see it, I guess.
Yes, I can see.
It's an honor for me to speak here today. Thank you, Energy Box, for the invitation. My name is Nguyen. I'm the head of business development for SkyX Solar. My presentation will consist of 3 parts. Introduce a little bit about SkyX Solar, what has happened, and what I think will happen in the near future. First, I want to introduce a bit about SkyX Solar. My apology to all of you, but I will have to take a bit of your time to introduce about us. Otherwise, the marketing department will be very upset with me. We are a subsidiary of 2 shareholders. The first is Vina Capital. I'm sure that you live in Vietnam. You have heard of Vina Capital. It's one of the largest and oldest fund management firm in Vietnam. It was established more than 15 years ago. Our assets under management is close to $4 billion US, and we have more than 70 professionals all over the world. The second shareholder is Edf Renewable. It's one of the largest renewable energy in the world with more than 13 gigawatts of power assets developed. Edf Renewable is a part of EDF Group. Its revenue in 2020 was 70 billion euros. So you can see the area that we have operations all over the world. So what's our US unique selling point that differentiates us from the others? We have a team of locals as well as international in-house engineer to assist the client at all times. So we always have to follow the international standard in all of our projects and our operations. The second part is the financial strength. Our first shareholder, Vina Capital. Vina Capital manages almost $4 billion US, and the other shareholder, as many of you know, is one of the largest energy corporations in the world. Our team has experience in more than 13 gigawatt projects in more than 20 countries. We have an interesting combination of the best world-class experts with the local expertise, so we can deliver the best quality services, and we understand the local ways of doing business. This last but not least is our team only focuses in Vietnam, and our investment committee is located here. Our technical person are here, so the client doesn't have to wait for someone from overseas to communicate or to get instruction to talk to the clients. So what has happened in the last recent years with the solar industry? So 2020 was a very interesting year for solar rooftop developers. A lot of that was the Fit 2. Many of you know that 9.2 gigawatt renewable energy projects. Mostly solar project was installed by the end of the year. Many of us have slowed down a bit. Many of the renewable energy investors have slowed down a bit in 2021 because of the interruption of COVID. Companies has to decrease its operation or even just stop for a little while to fight the disease. So there wasn't a big focus in the renewable energy at that moment. However, I think this year is going to be different. The trend is still there. RE100 companies have pledged to go renewable. Some RE100 company, they even pledged to go 100% renewable in the next few years. I have talked to some of my clients. In order for them to continue their operations, they will have to move to renewable energy by certain date. So some, for example, my very last recent client, they want to go renewable, 100% renewable by end of 2025. So, but not only private parties, the government of Vietnam, for example, Mr. Chinh, the Prime Minister, has stated that Vietnam will reach its net zero carbon emission target by 2050 at the last COP26. So what is going to happen in 2022 and in the next few years? So the first I think is going to happen is the changes in policy. For some of the notable changes is that the first one is the change of environment protection law in Vietnam had just come in place by the beginning of this year. So once that takes into effect, the ministry will have to issue guidance, and then the local government will take time to implement this new law. So a lot of the new projects that we are looking into has to wait for guidance from ministry and the local government to implement. The second thing I noticed is that there is a rumor about the floating FIT, which will be applied for self-consumption model projects. So investors like us cannot depend on that revenue. I personally think that is good for the industry because there was a lot of so-called mini farms in 2020. Too many of these mini farms can be a problem for the grids as well as a problem for other sources of renewable energy. Once we get past this COVID phase, the electricity price will increase and the corporation will try to save as much as they can. So we anticipate that there's going to be a bit easier to talk to potential clients as by the end of this year, because many companies have suffered, so they're going to have to try to find ways to recover. The second change is going to be many of us know that it's a self-consumption model. So investors will have to focus on self-consumption model because there's virtually no FIT. There may be floating FIT, but cannot count on it. So we're going to have to focus on companies who consume the most electricity. The third thing is what we call the DPPA, but it's actually we internationally known as the virtual DPPA. So we can sell the electricity produced from utility scale projects to corporate off-taker using the transmission grids. The only problem with this model is that we don't know when the policies will take it, when will we sign, but at least we have a pilot draft, which is under revision at the moment. The next solution for our clients are batteries energy storage system, short for BESS. So this will actually provide clients and investors with flexibility to utilize more energy produced. Investor can build a bigger system, can sell more energy, and client can enjoy more renewable energy. So it's good for both seller and investor. At the moment, the price of BESS is not yet at the point where it makes the project feasible, but as the technology improves, this will be an interesting approach. The next one is the zero export model. In the case that the local EBN doesn't allow exporting the excess electricity to the grids, we can use the zero export model. But I think this is only a temporary fix for a temporary problems. A renewable energy certificate is a tradable and market-based instrument that represents legal property right to a renewableness of non-power attributes. Many of our clients have asked me questions about this, and I think this could be an interesting approach to talking to the client. And many of my clients actually ask questions about. They care more about this REX than the savings from the solar energy. Last but not least, same as REC, but less. The carbon credits is less popular in Vietnam at the moment. It's basically the same, and the credits is a way to certify that an entity can offset the carbon they produce in the environment. So that's what I think it's gonna happen next in next few years. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vu.
Yes.